is what comes most naturally to you. They're already buying comedy. They're buying it on networks, they're buying it all over the place. So it's a much, much easier sell to advertisers than almost any other form of content, except maybe sports. But I think your point's well taken about contextual. It's a harder sell contextually because it's fairly broad and not quite as specific. Dave.
So I guess in general, I'm not familiar with the entertainment and comedy field, although I'm an avid consumer of many of the sites that you showed up there. My guess is that monetizing comedy is a bit of a challenge and that you have to have a volume business for that to work. I could be wrong about that.
You have to, yeah, well, no, I think that's true for almost any form of, ultimately almost any form of content, but yes, I think that's right.
I mean,
it's both volume and specific. In other words, you can, just having a comedy, from my point of view, just having a comedy network where you're selling ads against comedy content, regardless of what kind of content it was, wouldn't be raising the CPMs to a level where you need to raise them. The only way to do that is to have premium quality comedy content, so you're pulling up the CPMs which are cost per thousands for advertisers. So yes and no, I guess, is the answer.
Okay. So
yes, to some sort of.
I would just argue that CPMs being higher is tough in the comedy channel unless you're doing something specific. But anyway, the point I was trying to make is, do you look at yourself as a destination site or not? My guess is that you probably need to be successful by distributing your content and getting users on other more popular sites, and then gradually try to build your own popularity. I think
both. Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, we don't view ourselves primarily as a destination. We're trying to build a brand. So almost by definition, we want to be non-destination specific. But we do believe that we need to have some sort of destination to help our branding over time, and to give people that have a launching pad for what we do.
I mean, I was actually checking out the site yesterday, and the navigation on your site probably needs a bit of work. I think the typical experience on YouTube or other sites where you get lost easily, I wasn't necessarily finding that. So I think probably emphasizing UI around making sure that when you look at one piece of content, you're easily distracted and moved to another one. But for initial audience acquisition, it feels like you need to emphasize 90, 95, 100% of your strategy around user acquisition from other popular sites like YouTube. You can get onto like College Humor or Fart or other sites like that and start to be recognized as a brand identity and publisher, and then maybe draw audience in. But I don't know if that's where you're headed.
It is.
So a few things. What I like is the domain name is great, right? You're going to get a certain amount of traffic just by being at comedy.com. I think what I'll call a hybrid business model where you're doing your own original content creation as well as aggregating is a good way to hedge your bets. You don't have to have the next hit. It helps if you do in terms of differentiation, but you're also going to aggregate. So that all makes a lot of sense to me. And then finally, I think the syndication approach is imperative. You're never going to, you're going to the cost of developing this great content, but you know that people are going to see this in dozens of other sites, so get it out there. Now, what I will say is from a business model perspective, you know, one of the great lessons of the internet in the last 5 years is the power accrues to the destination, right? So from a rev share perspective, you're going to do much better to the extent that you're attracting that traffic. You can think about that transitioning over time. Day one, that might not make a whole lot of sense because you're not going to have millions of uniques on day one. And then finally, I think the last advantage, like looking at it from a VC perspective, is you know, this is a tough nut to crack. There's you know, Break has been doing something similar to this, and they have some proprietary content as well as aggregation. You've got the College Humor that has you know, a fair number of unique visitors. Your background gives you a certain amount of credibility, so you can come in, you're going to be able to get things done because of your relationship. So I think those are all positive. Things that give me pause, and you know, part of this is echoing what we've heard from the other two panelists. The modernization, I think, will be challenging. You know, the young adult male, you know, is a desirable demographic to a finite set of advertisers. And you know, if you kind of look across the internet without the benefit of really good contextual behavioral information, you tend to get, and just social media in general, tend to get lower CPMs. I would encourage you to kind of use your previous relationships to get the entertainment industry on board, because a lot of these movie launches, that's where I've seen with some of our portfolio companies where you know the CPMs start to inch up. They've got a 4-week period of time where they need to market like crazy, and you might be able to do the sponsorships and campaigns. But I would really encourage you to think long and hard about monetization, and is there some other type of fee model or lead gen or a freemium model or something to supplement the advertising, because it's going to take you a while to sort that out.
How many, you can ask our organization about, how many, you want to tell us how many users you need to get profitable?
Well, to be profitable, I mean, that has to do with burn rate, but you know, I would expect that we'd be in the black probably in about a year and a half. But
What kind of traffic are we talking about?
I think we're kind of like, we're looking to hit, on our own site, we're looking to hit about 600 to 800,000 uniques in about 12 months. And, you know, like I said, all that has to do with burn rate, if you're profitable or not. I mean, the actual, how much revenue you're actually taking in, I think is a.
So you're not going to hire 400 people to staff your online toy store?
No, you know, we're very efficient. You know, I've lived through the media world, and you know, as a result, I'm a very efficient user of capital. I don't really like spending money on production. I don't like spending money on marketing. And that's really the big black hole for media content, as anybody knows who's been involved in those businesses. And I think if we're going to have any hope of succeeding, those costs have to be radically controlled. To your point about, I'm sorry.
Can I make one other point? I think the editorially selected wouldn't necessarily be your best advantage. If you have access to Hollywood talent, I don't know that I would put their comedy selection talents as the most interesting thing. I think being able to attract audience, like if you, I don't know, like the natural thing to me seems like if you did a vertical for American Idol around comedy, like that would be a pretty easy thing where you could leverage the talent you have access to in a way that might be interesting. But I don't know that having them judge and select talent may not be the most beneficial thing to use them for.
Yeah, I thought you were about to volunteer for it.
I suck at comedy, but you know, I like watching.
Last comments there, Dean, because we're gonna.
I would just say on the monetization and ad issue, you know, I've spent a long time basically selling advertising selling time to advertisers, and I would say that the young male on the young male front, it's really where the ultimate money is going to lie for the internet. And the reason for that is really simple, because males increasingly make more consumer decisions just historically right now than they ever did before, and it's virtually impossible for ad agencies to reach them. So if you look at something like World Wrestling Federation, they do an incredible amount of business on only 4 or 5 advertisers. You know, Candy, you know, McDonald's, and 3 or 4 other guys that don't have a problem with that form of content. There's hundreds of other advertisers who are trying to reach males who have no outlet for them. Now, that's a shoe leather kind of thing. It's not a software solution. It's not a contextualized solution. It's somebody literally going to advertising and brands and knocking on their door. And obviously, until you have enough mass to do that, that's not a worthwhile way to spend your overhead. But that is really where the money is going to, the money that people want to see on the internet, that's where it's really going to come from on the content side.
Thank you, we're gonna, sorry, cutting you down. Got my clock on the wall there. Good job, Dean, good questions.